the writings that we have in the two letters to the church at Thessalonica are early on in the New Testament canon, and we can see the atmosphere in that early period of development, that expecting the Lord's return in that generation. And therefore there's the urgency. St. Paul has to remind them that they have to work and not just abdicate with regard to responsibility over the material. But then in this, he's going into the way in which the Lord will return, and it is a part of what we reflect often upon at funerals. With regard to the gospel, it's a continuation of the tirade that we have against the dominant authority of the Pharisees and their school of thought, casuistry. And he is using language which is very direct and certainly not politically correct. He knows the consequences, and they're not long in coming. But he's also almost humorous in the way that he uses examples out of nature to swallow camels while actually straining out gnats, which is something which makes the mind boggle if one sees the situation in the imagination. But it can happen more than we think. Maybe if I give an example out of my own experience at one occasion in the past, it'll help you to see the kind of scenario that can happen. And it can happen also, unfortunately, on a mega scale. This is just a microcosm of what might be a Magno situation eventually. It's what happened when I was in Ireland in the early 90s. I remember being warned when I was in formation in the Abbey there in County Cavan that time, that certain things had to change or I wouldn't be accepted to solemn vows. And the kind of things that were coming out were this. With regard to communication with certain of the brethren at table, I had to take part. And of course the issue was this. What people wouldn't realise is that taking part meant having a lot to say about Gaelic football and so on. So it's not quite so simple. And these were becoming big issues. And then at the same time, of course I had no idea about all this, but there was underground simmering an explosion which was going to upset the whole church in Ireland. I think you know what I'm referring to. Those who would have lived through that period will remember that it all started in our place, the scandal. So I remember just being protected by the abbot, who was actually the man who got me in there and was a good man. Say what you like, Kevin Smith was actually a good man. And he was good to us in formation. And I remember when I was trying to discern, when I was coming to the end of that second period of study at university, because I'd gone back to study theology at Bangor, that this communication was going on, because I'd been put in contact with Kilnacrot by my spiritual father, who was an Irish priest who spoke Welsh. He was our chaplain. And this letter came back, without my knowing it, this letter came back from Kilnacrot to go and meet the abbot, Abbot Kevin Smith, because he was filling in Cardiff, my native place there, in the summer. So go to that church and you'll have a chat with him and meet with him. So I did, and I found there a man who I could see was going to be good and kind and was going to protect me. And it was a time when that kind of message was important, given what happened in the past. That Irish goodness came through in him. And he organised for me to go over the beginning of September from Wales to Ireland and stay for a while with them there in the Abbey. He was very clever because he arranged me to go just in time to catch the grace of the ordination of Brother Thomas. He was ordained in the Abbey on the 10th of September, and I was there. And the abbot actually was a good preacher. All his sermons were powerful and good. He'd always had a story, and they were memorable. And he preached a sermon at the first Mass of, by then, Father Thomas, which concluded with this, and I quote. He quoted from our Holy Father St. Norbert, "Priest of God, what are you? You are nothing. You are everything." The following day, or was it actually the same day? I forget, but it was all in close succession. We went to his birthplace in the west of Ireland, and we were greeted by the country people running before the car of the newly ordained local man, and they were carrying on forks burning turf. It was a torchlight procession with human beings running. Wow! And the whole village was dubbed out, it was completely orientated towards celebration. And I thought, this is Irish faith. We're going back to the early 90s, it was 1991, and this hit me. That same abbot said, "Stay an extra week." So I did. And he came to me and gave me some money, "Go to Knock and go on this pilgrimage which I'll sort out for you." And it was the Padre Pio pilgrimage at the beginning of September, around about, I don't know, mid-September, 23rd of September, whatever it was. Off we went, and there were, I forget how many thousand, there were thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people from all over Ireland for that pilgrimage. And you see how clever the abbot was. Put him full force into what Irish life, Catholic life is in Ireland. It worked. So the next thing was, the abbot was saying, "Well, if you want to come back, just write to us and we'll sort it out." So I wrote back and applied to enter, and then the abbot protected me. And again, all through formation, he was very good. He was very elastic. Against what was supposed to be doing, he actually got me to do exams and stuff to learn Italian properly, even in novitiate time, very Irish. The rule is a sort of a rule. But you see, he was clever, and he was investing in me to send me straight away to Rome. Off. Remember, as soon as I made my vows, he called me apart, "We're sending you to Rome." And I gave him a big hug, and I said, "Ah!" And I thought, it's just like what happened to my brother when he was younger. This telegram came from Oxford, got elected to Oxford. It's Rome for us is important. That big entry into the eternal city. So I thought, this is a good man. And then when he was sending me off, he came, "Come this way," and he gave me this brand new automatic typewriter. And "Abbot, you're an angel." "Oh, we strive to be, we strive to be." But he was a good man. And then when I was in Rome, these letters were coming back all the time from Father Abbot. He was encouraging me, yes, do that. Yes, go into that one there, ecumenism. Yeah. See, he cared, and he was very much following us individually. He was doing exactly the same with Brother Benedict, who was now Father Benedict. So what I'm getting at is this. He was somebody, this is where I'm landing, who, though himself a very, very good man, was in the wrong place at the wrong time and blamed for somebody else's faults. Now, do you see what I'm getting at? This is kind of contemporary. This is what's going on quite a lot right now in the church. People are actually good men, are caught up in situations that they're not quite able to handle. It's very difficult because one is up against a hostile force, the media and the demon using them. Now, I come back to the gospel because it applies to us too. We can find ourselves in this situation of nitpicking, e.g., not knowing about Gaelic football, but missing this big thing in the house underground, which is far more important. But it can happen also in our life. E.g., an issue is for us very important. So I'm going to get victory in this issue, and that's going to have paramount importance over any other issue, such as peace. Now, I give you one secret going through life. The big secret to learn in handling life is to know how to distinguish and discern between two things. The essential and the accidental. And people who can't do that get into that mode, giving all their energy to straining out a gnat and gobbling up an entire cat.